Welcome to Promo Insiders, an ASI media podcast that covers the issues that matter most to the promotional products industry, from hard-hitting news to fun trends and analysis. I'm Teresa Hagel, Executive Editor of Digital Content, and today I'm speaking with Christina Ross, President of Silver Frog Marketing, about building relationships with digital marketing. Thanks for joining us, Christina.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, I just want to mention to everybody that is watching, if you guys have any questions or comments as we're talking, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will get to them kind of as they're addressed or as we have time. So hoping that we can have a nice, interesting discussion. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Christina, and hearing what everybody else has to say as well. So maybe to just begin, let's talk a little bit about Silver Frog Marketing and your background.
Definitely. So I started Silver Frog Marketing in 2015. After about 10 years in the franchise industry, I realized that I was very drawn to marketing. And, I was noticing that I was, kind of thinking in terms of marketing for all the different things that I was working on. I started doing websites just for local business people, friends and coworkers who had an idea. I would jump in, I would build a website, and then I would start doing marketing, whether it be emails or Google campaigns or Facebook campaigns, whatever worked for them. And I did that up until, 2015, I created the company and I continued to build it. And then 2019, we added TV and radio to our agency, which just really put us on a different level. We buy differently. So TV and radio obviously works for some industries and some it doesn't. But that's why then once we had TV and radio kind of built and settled and rolling. And I noticed that I was doing a lot of one-off digital marketing pieces still. And one thing that a lot of customers kept asking was, for better results, okay, well, we're running on Google, but, we want more. And so my recommendation would always be add other mediums. And so I did this until I realized, I just need to create a package. And so that's kind of what we've been doing the past few years is we take a holistic look at digital marketing with the client, depending on their industry, who their clients are, their audience. And we make recommendations as to whether that client's on TV or digital marketing. But at all points, we're always consistent with email campaigns, Google My Business, social postings, things that small business owners and even any business owner really needs to be aware of in the digital space now. So that's what we do. We do we do all the marketing. And we advertise in multiple different mediums.
Okay. So digital marketing specifically, why is it so important?
Well, at this point in the digital age, that's how people shop. So I'm noticing more and more that people are social. So they go to Google whenever they look for anything, for a tire shop to, clothing that they want to buy, shoes, they're always on Google. And then from Google, it's great because if done right, what that customer searches for on Google can then follow them around. And then they see it on Facebook and they see it follow them. And that's where good digital marketing kind of comes in because it builds a trust of a brand with a client. So basically at this point in business, I feel that every business should be online in some way.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I always say is, when I'm looking for, a business, if I look for their website,
Yep.
but I also look for their Facebook page.
Absolutely.
And if either of them are not there, I get a little suspicious. Like I want to see both, and I want to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another big thing is inconsistencies where maybe they have a Facebook page, but it looks different than their website. And so then, what I tell business owners is, your customers, if they see two different pictures and, they need to be consistent and cohesive.
Right. Yeah, the consistent branding. That makes a lot of sense because, I always take it back to my own personal, just experience as a shopper because we all are shoppers, right? There's so many businesses that have very similar names. So, am I looking at the right, Silver Frog Marketing? Maybe it's the wrong one. If the photos are different, if it doesn't look the same, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you don't have that consistent branding.
Yeah.
So how does digital marketing, how can that build brand loyalty?
Oh, so many different ways. So I've noticed that, once you have consistency within your brand, therefore, when somebody searches you, your Google My Business, your website, your Facebook page, the more consistency you show, it just builds trust with with the consumer mindset. And then what I recommend is to consistently be touching them, whether through retargeting, where they landed on your site, maybe they didn't click, but then you can kind of then show them another ad on Facebook, show them another ad on Google, to build that brand consistency, because then they think, oh, wow, I saw that brand over here and over here, must be a reputable brand. And it's very interesting how people's minds work, but we're definitely seeing that the more that the digital age is upon us.
So as far as like you brought up retargeting,
Mhm.
um, and I think it's definitely a huge thing and important. But how do you keep that from being creepy? Like sometimes people get really annoyed if
Oh, I
you know like
know.
like they go on a website and then like the ads are following them.
Right.
How do you kind of walk that line?
So basically, you have to just look at it as marketing instead of, you know, being followed around or data. It's a lot of just mindset. So, the more that the internet opens up and technology expands, this is kind of the norm now with tracking and targeting with your phones, with your TVs, with your smart box sets. So the way I look at it and the way that I tell customers is, this is the way it is. Let's just utilize it for the best way that it's supposed to be utilized and not abuse it in the way that a lot of people do. So the way that I look at marketing is kind of like spaghetti. When you're initially out there, you're new, especially on Google, you're just throwing spaghetti on the wall, right? And then you have to see what sticks, right? It doesn't stick until it's done. So that's where retargeting comes in. So then you're seeing who's actually interested, where they're coming from. Then you've got these algorithms that work in the background to do all these magical things, so that then when you run your retargeting, those ads are only going to the people who really want to see them. So, I'd say look at it that way, instead of just we're following people around. We're following people around in a good way, because the more touches that we can give our customers in a good way, then the better that you look to your customer.
Okay,
Never spam anybody. That's,
that's rule
there's
number one.
some tips and techniques that we can get into, but
So as far as obviously digital marketing, the internet, it's always changing. There's always some new shiny thing that's on there. But what are some of the biggest trends right now that people should be aware of?
yeah, great question. So a lot of what I'm seeing now are videos, even short animated videos. Humor is really big. Storytelling. So, and sometimes that's hard for people to kind of think through. But like, if your customer were able to see, multiple different marketing messages, all with the same character or look and feel, then it makes them feel better, right? They have something to look forward to if you're in a storytelling mode. Oh, cool, Bob's Cheesecake Shop down the street, they made a cool story about a rabbit eating the carrot cake cheesecake, right? Like, it could be so many different things that your customer then relates with you on a personal level, especially if you can add animation or humor.
What is an example of of humor that might work?
Yeah, so like, we had a dentist in Albuquerque, and they were pushing their implants, right? Not a fun topic to talk about at all, right? But what we did was we created an animated commercial, about somebody with tooth pain, and then we can kind of like animate the expression instead of like really bringing people into it, and creating humor with just the graphics that we were able to do with the implant. So things like that, where you can take something that maybe nobody really wants to think about or talk about, but maybe they do need, and you can just make it consumable, so that
So
people
you're not talking about being like the next great stand-up comedian or being like edgy or something, but just like kind of using humor in like a little way to
yeah,
make
even if
things a little
it's
more fun.
just, and so also what I'll talk to business owners about is, so I find that older generations that maybe started businesses 20 years ago before the digital age, how are they then able to relate to customers in the digital age? And one, I think a trick of the trade is, however you would speak to somebody in person, use those taglines or those humor points and turn that into taglines in your marketing. And a lot of times people don't even realize that they're already speaking their messaging.
Yeah.
Same thing if you were to pick up a phone call and what would you say to get that customer interested? You would say the same types of things in your marketing or in your social posts. Also, don't be too salesy. A lot of times if a business only posts emails that are promoting them or social posts that are selling something, a lot of times people shy away from that, too salesy. You kind of want to build a relationship, right?
Right.
So you have to understand that your customer does want to know more about you and probably is interested in the local goings on of your business. And that's okay. To do a social post about a bike race that just took place in your town, or a customer who you just got, any way that you can share with your community and your customers, it makes you look more like a human, and then people just instinctively feel more trustworthy towards you.
Yeah, so basically the trends you're talking about here are videos, short videos, animated videos, things with humor,
Human
and then
touch,
just
right?
the building relationships and
Yeah,
building loyalty.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
So I mean, especially with video, like that's so big in social right now, especially
yeah,
short video, like
oh,
with
definitely.
TikTok and Reels and all that different stuff.
Yeah, and
So
people's attention span are just, it's less than 7 seconds at this point. If you don't get them with, we call it above the fold, whatever's on your screen in front of your email or on your phone, within seconds, they are likely to just scroll. It's just scroll. So, think about it that way. How can you gain your customers' eyes in the above the fold?
right.
Just things to think about.
Yeah. Above the fold is something, as a former newspaper person, I always think about in those kinds of terms. So I like that. Um, yeah. So going back to building relationships, um, how can a company create a relationship with their audience and customers via digital marketing? And like, what are some of the different tactics they can use
So
to do that?
yeah, great question. So I still love email marketing. I know there's, pros and cons. Definitely, there's ways around the spam. You got to be careful. But email is a great way to build a relationship with your client because it's a way to touch them without selling to them. So at least once a month, you should be planning and sending an email to your whole consumer base, prospects and customers, that really just it's just informative on your industry, information that might be relevant to them, um, passing along information, stuff that's going on within your company. And then at the end, you can always feel free to throw in a promo. That's okay. As long as it just, it's more informative and basically your client kind of looks forward to it. Oh, cool. This is the monthly newsletter from Silver Frog Marketing. I know I might learn something. And then they open it. And then you can take, I love data. I know a lot of people don't, but it's great for marketing. And when you really want to know who your client is and what matters to them, you really want to every month go back and look at what your marketing did the month before and how do you make it better. So, if you came up with what you thought was the best headline and you tested it out and it got no clicks, try something else, and look at it kind of like you're planning your meals, right? Like at home, that you need to feed your family healthy meals. So you're going to go grocery shopping. Same thing with marketing. So your customers, you always want to be giving them healthy information, healthy tips, or, relatable tips. So do the same thing with marketing, every month. What are we going to do next month? Are you going to do a Facebook post? Are you going to do a Google ad? Are you going to, just update Google My Business, which is a great free way to just stay in touch with your clients because that's really the first place that they go when they search for you on Google. All those little tips and just always keep it top of mind.
Okay, we actually have a question just from somebody. It's a very simple one, so this will give you no problems. What can you reshare your company name and just how people can get in touch with you?
Definitely. So my company is Silver Frog Marketing. Silver like the color, frog like the animal, and marketing because that's what we do. And my name is Christina Ross.
And if they want to get in touch with you, are you there a good, just go to your
Totally.
website or your email, or what's
Yeah,
the best
I'm
way
not
to reach
quite
you?
sure how to post it in the chat, but so it's Christina with the CHRISTINA at silverfrogmarketing.com.
Okay, great.
And once I figure out, I would love to post all this in the chat.
So what are some ways to target and engage with specific audiences?
Yeah.
How do you tailor the message to the people you most want to reach? Because obviously, if you're on social, you can send it out for everyone to see, but that's not going to serve you if you only have a very specific like niche or segment that you want to reach.
Yeah, so definitely, Facebook is really good for targeting, especially targeting if you already know a little bit about who your market is, right? So, if you sell tires, for instance, that could be anybody. Anybody could be a tire company or client, right?
Mhm.
So, what I would do in that case is target people looking for automotive services or looking for actively shopping for tires. A lot of people don't realize that you can do that, but when people go to Google and they search for things, again, that data is stored. So then if you're selling tires, you want to know who's searching for tires. So Facebook is a really easy one to get started with because it's very easy to target. You can target moms. You can target college kids. You can target people searching for cars, retail, dresses, shoes, almost anything. So I always say that's a really great place to start because you can kind of think, okay, what do I sell? I sell tires. Great. And then you can kind of break it down with who do I need to target? And then from there, again, that's why every month you just look at who is actually interested because so many times I've seen a client thinks that their audience is one thing, and a lot of times they base it on themselves, and that's okay. I get it, but then what they realize when they look at the analytics is their market may be 40-year-old dads, or people who are actively searching for tax services. Like basically, if a business owner knows what they're selling and who they want to sell to, then they can then take that same logic and put it into targeting.
Right, right. So kind of create the persona of who is the buyer, but use data that you actually are gathering from all your
Right,
other posts and whatnot.
right. Yeah.
So, obviously you're doing a lot of, you're doing this work for businesses, but not every business can afford to, hire a marketing firm. A lot of people want to or need to kind of do it on their own. So, what advice do you have for small businesses that don't have a budget for digital marketing or don't have a large budget? What's the main thing that they should be focusing on?
Yeah, that's awesome because that's actually where I was for years. I would either have ideas or I would have clients with great ideas, and it was always that the marketing. Where do you get started, right? How do you get the most bang for the least amount of buck? So definitely Google My Business. So every company should be listed on Google My Business with as much information as possible: photos, logos, contact information, address. Start there
Is
because
that, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that you had said that that's a free thing to do. You
oh
don't have to
yeah,
pay.
absolutely nope. So
And any
Google.
business can do that. Any business can do it.
Yep. So
Okay.
if you just Google My Business, it'll take you to this whole thing where you can search for your business in case it's already listed, or you can just list your business. And it's free, it's amazing, and it's number one on my recommendation. So make sure that the Google My Business is there because, again, if somebody comes to Google and if you don't pop up, but your competitor does,
Yeah.
right? So number two, Facebook page. Always have a Facebook page for your company and make sure that it's consistent with your website, which is also, I'm finding that it's definitely important, right? There's a lot of back end SEO that's very important for websites. But I mean, if it was just one person just starting out today, Google My Business, Facebook page, both are free, both are great for searchability and just SEO, keywords, all the good stuff that start when your customers start to look for you. Obviously, and then a website. You can get a free website on Wix. GoDaddy has great prices. It's nowadays it's doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars to get a website done. But also that is highly recommended because again, if somebody's looking for you and you want them to have a warm and fuzzy, right? You want them to have that good feeling when they're looking for you. And I've done it myself where I'm like, oh, cool, this is great. This is great. Ooh, they don't have a website or they don't have this. And then something in your brain just goes, ooh, I don't know if I can trust them. So Google My Business, Facebook page, website, definitely the first three things to start. And then just planning out your marketing.
So having like kind of a calendar, just like an idea in mind of what to post, when to post it.
And I would say set a meeting, set a meeting on your calendar for yourself or yourself and your business partner every month. And all you do is talk about marketing.
I like that. That's really good. So, a lot of the people that, that are our listeners, our readers, they're in kind of like a business to business space.
Yeah.
Are those still the same kind of things they should be doing? Because I know sometimes there's like an idea like, well, I'm not, marketing directly to consumers, so I don't need to be, I don't need to have a Facebook page, or I don't need this, but that's not really the way it is, I don't think.
Nope. Definitely applies B2B and B2C. They're definitely different animals. B2B is harder to do digitally. There's different strategies. I would use more of a content strategy, as well as just strong SEO and strong messaging for B2B, because it's true, there are so many more consumers out there looking than there are business owners looking for solutions. So it can still be done. Absolutely. People will still need your service. There's just different strategies.
Okay. When you talk about like having a more of a content strategy, what are some of the things that they can be doing? Like just like helpful posts, or like what
So
would be
in
the
that
strategy?
case, definitely. So that's more where SEO comes in, where you're really taking your keywords that other businesses might be looking for or talking about, and you utilize blogs, you utilize little videos, social posts. So a lot of also just that building relationships is more so for B2B, because it's just harder to get clients to look for you.
Right.
But definitely, so content marketing, videos, blog posts, and just rich in your keywords.
Right. And how do you find out what your keywords are? Is it just what you want people to know you by, or is that some kind of you can research?
Yep. So definitely you start by what would you search if you were looking for your business, right? And usually any business owner can give you 1 to 3 keywords. And then there's so many. So Google has a ton of free keyword search tools where you just put in 1 or 2 keywords and it populates lists of other ones and the traffic and activity. It's a whole animal, but it's great to get other ideas that you may not know. What people are searching for in your space. And then you can then use those a lot of times in your own marketing, in your headlines, or just in your SEO.
Okay. We have a question from Melissa. Just what are the best tools for keyword research? I think
Yep.
you had started that with Google, but are there other ones?
So Google is definitely what we go to. We use SEM Rush. That's a paid service, though. We also use Bright Local. Again, that's more of a paid. But honestly, if you just go to Google and search, just start typing in your keywords, that's probably the best place to start. Or another thing that you could do, Google yourself. Google, you do your keywords and then see what ads you start seeing. That's great. Then you see what your competitors are doing. You should always be aware of what your competitors are doing. And you don't necessarily have to do it better. You just have to do it differently in a way that may stand out to someone else more than your competitor.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good advice. So I think that's all the questions that I had for you, but is there anything else you wanted to add about digital marketing, or just marketing in general, that we haven't covered?
So a few other things that are probably top of my mind now when I'm setting up campaigns is marketing automation. So, and I know that this probably takes a little bit more time, but again, if you have that one marketing meeting where you plan out an email drip campaign, you've got all month to implement it. So in theory, you can send an email, great. What happens after that, right? If they click it, wonderful. What happens after that, right? So marketing automation is literally just building those drip campaigns. They open one email, a week later, they get another email. Again, not salesy. What we do is we mix it up between article posts, just information that we put out there online, or tips. I do a lot of marketing tips where I'll do an email. So again, I don't ever want somebody to open one of my emails and think, oh, another sales email, right? Because again, if they are ready to buy, they will find you. Okay. Your email most likely is not going to be their trigger, right? And it could be, it could be, but most likely they've already built it up in their mind. They've already made that decision based on their research. But definitely keep touching your client, whether it be on Google, on social posts, or on email. that's a great way, just to again, keep yourself top of mind with your client.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Christina. This was really fun.
It was a lot of fun for me too. Thank you.